Captain Jiwan Park stared at the holographic message floating above her desk. The strange symbols twisted and moved like living things, translating themselves into human text as she watched. She had seen alien writing before, but never anything like this. The message carried an official seal she recognized from the history books. The mark of the Galactic Council. Her hands shook slightly as she read the words again. After 300 years of waiting, humanity had finally received an invitation to address the most powerful organization in the galaxy. But something about the formal language made her stomach twist with worry. The door to her office slid open with a soft hiss. Admiral Yunwoo Kim stepped inside, his weathered face showing the same concern she felt. Behind him came Dr. Minji Lee, the fleet's top expert on alien cultures, and Commander Taemin Choi, her most trusted military advisor. "You've seen it too," Jawan said, gesturing at the hologram. Hyunwoo nodded grimly. Every human colony received the same message exactly 1 hour ago. The timing was perfect. They wanted to make sure we all got it at once. Dr. Minji Lee moved closer to examine the alien text. Her dark eyes traced the flowing symbols with the practiced ease of someone who had spent decades studying xenolinguistics. "The language patterns are interesting," she said softly. "They're using formal diplomatic speech, but there are undertones of judgment." "What kind of judgment?" Taemin asked, his soldier's instincts already alert to potential threats. "The kind that comes before a verdict?" Minji replied. Jiwan stood up and walked to the large window that showed the busy docks of Luna Station. Human ships moved back and forth like metal fish, carrying supplies and people to dozens of colonies scattered across nearby star systems. Everything looked normal, but she knew that could change very quickly. "Tell me what you know about the Council," she said to Minji. The scientist pulled up her own holographic display, showing a complex star map. Thousands of points of light represented different alien civilizations. The Galactic Council has existed for over 50,000 years. They claim to maintain peace and order among 847 different species. Every major decision about trade, territory, and technology goes through them. "Every species except us," Taemin pointed out. "Exactly. We've been classified as a probationary species since first contact 3 centuries ago. They've been watching us, studying us, but never acknowledging U.S. as equals." Admiral Hyunwoo pulled up another display showing human expansion over the past 200 years. The dots representing human colonies spread outward from Earth like ripples in a pond. "This is what has them worried," he said. "In 2 centuries, we've established permanent settlements on 147 worlds. Most alien species take thousands of years to expand that far." Jiwan studied the pattern. Each colony represented millions of human lives, families who had left Earth to build something new. "Among the stars, are we expanding too fast?" "By their standards, yes," Minji answered. "The Council has strict rules about colonization rates. They believe rapid expansion leads to conflict and instability." "But we've never attacked another species," Taemin protested. "Every world we've settled was either empty or inhabited by non-sentient life." "That's not how they see it," Admiral Hyunwoo said. 3 months ago, our deep space patrol ships were detected in the Kepler Nebula region. The Council considers that area Forbidden's territory. "We were conducting scientific research," Jawan said. "Standard stellar surveys." To them, it looked like military reconnaissance. Dr. Minji Lee brought up historical records on her display. Images of various alien species flashed by, some humanoid, others so strange they barely looked alive. "I've been studying Council records since we received the message. There's a pattern here that worries me." "What pattern?" "Every few hundred years, a young species gets invited to address the Council. The species are always ones that have shown rapid growth or technological advancement. They're always classified as potential threats." The room fell silent except for the hum of the space station's life support systems. Outside the window, a massive cargo ship was docking, its hull scarred from years of interstellar travel. Ji-won watched human workers in spacesuits guide the ship into position with the casual efficiency that had become humanity's trademark. "What happens to these species after they address the council?" she asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "They either submit completely to council authority," Minji said quietly, "or they disappear from galactic history." Timon's hand moved instinctively to where his sidearm would normally hang. "Disappear how?" "The records are vague. Some species seem to have voluntarily retreated to their home systems and stopped expanding. Others, there are just gaps in the historical data where thriving civilizations used to be." Admiral Youngwoo activated the room's security protocols, ensuring their conversation couldn't be overheard. "There's something else you need to know. Our intelligence networks have picked up increased military activity near several council-controlled systems, ships moving into position, supply convoys, communication blackouts. They're preparing for war," Ji-won said. "Or preparing to prevent one by making a very clear demonstration of power." Dr. Minji Lee highlighted several sections of the invitation message. "Look at the specific wording here. They're not asking us to attend, they're commanding us." The translation software is trying to make it sound polite, but in the original alien languages, this is an ultimatum. Ji-won read the highlighted text again. Phrases like immediate compliance, final opportunity, and consequences of defiance stood out like warning signals. The aliens weren't inviting humanity to join their club, they were calling humanity to trial. "How long do we have?" she asked. "The message specifies that a human representative must appear before the council in 14 standard days," Admiral Hyunwoo replied. "The meeting will take place at Nexus Prime, their capital station in the galactic core." "That's barely enough time to get there, even with our fastest ships." "I think that's intentional. They don't want us to have time to prepare a proper defense or gather allies." Commander Timon Choi had been quietly studying tactical displays during their conversation. Now he looked up with the grim expression of a soldier who had seen too many battles. "Admiral, with respect, I think we need to consider the possibility that whoever goes to this meeting isn't coming back." The weight of those words settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Ji-won looked around at her colleagues, people who had devoted their lives to humanity's expansion into the stars. They had always known this day might come, when humanity would have to answer for its rapid growth and stubborn independence. "The Council is expecting us to send someone," she said finally. "Someone who can speak for all of humanity. The Earth. Government is already preparing a formal diplomatic response," Admiral Yunwoo said. "But they want a military representative present as well. Someone who understands what we might be facing." Ji-won knew what he was asking before he said the words. "They want you to go, Ji-won. You've had more contact with alien species than any other fleet captain. You understand both sides of this situation." She looked out at the stars beyond Luna Station, at the vast galaxy that humanity had barely begun to explore. Somewhere out there, among those distant lights, powerful beings were deciding humanity's fate. The choice before her was simple, but terrifying. Accept the mission and possibly save her species, or refuse and watch someone else carry that impossible burden. "When do I leave?" she asked. The used Defiance dropped out of hyperspace with a violent shudder that ran through the entire ship. Captain Ji-won Park gripped her command chair as the artificial gravity fluctuated for a moment. Through the main view screen, she saw something that made her breath catch in her throat. Nexus Prime hung in space like a massive crystal flower, its transparent petals catching and reflecting the light of the nearby neutron star. The station was enormous, easily the size of Earth's moon, and it pulsed with energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. Thousands of alien ships surrounded it in perfect geometric formations, their designs so foreign that Ji-won's mind struggled to understand how they could possibly fly. "Scan complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant De-yun from the sensor station. His voice was tight with tension. "I'm reading approximately 40,000 vessels of various types. Most are using energy signatures I've never seen before." Dr. Minji Lee stood beside Ji-won's chair, her tablet displaying streams of data as the ship's computers tried to analyze what they were seeing. The station itself appears to be made from some kind of living crystal. It's growing and changing shape even as we watch. Commander Teeman Choi moved to the tactical station, his trained eyes studying the alien fleet formations. "They're not in defensive positions," he said quietly. "This is a show of power. They want us to see exactly how outmatched we are." Communications. Alert chimed through the bridge. The main screen flickered and changed to show an alien face that seemed to be made of shifting light and shadow. When it spoke, the universal translator struggled to convert the sounds into human speech. "Human vessel Defiance, you are cleared to dock at Reception Bay 7. Your delegation will be escorted to the council chamber immediately upon arrival. No delays will be tolerated." The transmission cut off before Jawan could respond. She looked around at her crew, seeing her own concerns reflected in their faces. Everything about this felt like a trap, but they had come too far to turn back now. "Take us in, Lieutenant Kwan," she ordered the pilot. "Nice and steady." The Defiance moved slowly toward the alien station, dwarfed by the massive structure and the ships around it. As they got closer, Jiwon could see details that made her stomach twist with unease. The station's surface was covered with symbols that seemed to move and change, like writing that rewrote itself continuously. Alien creatures flew through space without any visible protection, their bodies adapted for the vacuum in ways that defied human understanding. "Captain," Dr. Minji Lee said softly, "I'm picking up telepathic emanations from at least a dozen different species. Some of them are trying to probe our minds. Can they get through our mental shields?" "The basic ones." "Yes, but they seem more curious than hostile right now. I think they're trying to understand how we think." The docking process was eerily smooth. Invisible forces guided their ship into a bay that seemed to reshape itself around the Defiance's hull. The moment they were secure, the bay filled with a breathable atmosphere and gravity adjusted to Earth-normal levels. "They know our biological requirements exactly," Teeman observed with suspicion. "They've been studying us for a long time." Jiwon stood up and straightened her dress uniform. The formal blue and gold of the United Earth Fleet felt strange and heavy after days of travel. "Dr. Lee, you're with me." "Commander Choi, I want you to monitor from the ship. If something goes wrong, get word back to Earth." "Captain, I should be coming with you," Teeman protested. "No, if this is a trap, I need someone I trust to tell the story." They walked through the ship's corridors toward the airlock, passing crew. Members who watched them with worried expressions. These people had followed her across the galaxy, trusting her to represent humanity's interests. Now she was walking into a situation that could determine the fate of their entire species. The airlock opened to reveal a delegation of alien beings unlike anything Jiwon had ever imagined. The leader appeared to be made of crystallized light, its form shifting between solid and energy states. Behind it stood creatures that looked like living metal, beings of pure thought given form and things so alien that her mind refused to process their shapes properly. "Captain Park of the human species," the light being said in perfect English, "I am Facilitator Nexatal. You will follow me to the council chamber. Your companion may accompany you." They walked through corridors that defied physics, past walls that showed scenes from 1,000 different worlds. Jiwon saw oceans of liquid mercury under purple skies, forests of crystalline trees that sang in harmony, and cities that floated in clouds of gas around dying stars. Each image represented a civilization that belonged to the Galactic Council. "How many species are represented here?" Dr. Minji Lee asked their escort. 847 confirmed members, Nexatal replied, plus 17 observer species and 3 probationary classifications, including humanity. Not for much longer. The word sent a chill down Jawan's spine. They continued in silence through passages that seemed to stretch for miles, past chambers where alien beings conducted business in languages that sounded like music, mathematics, and pure emotion. Finally, they arrived at a pair of doors that rose hundreds of feet into the air. The surfaces were covered with the same shifting symbols they had seen on the station's exterior, but now Jiwan realized they weren't just decorations. They were a record of every species that had ever stood before the council. "Before we enter," Nexidal said, "you should understand what you are about to witness. The council chamber contains representatives from civilizations that predate your species by millions of years. Some have transcended physical form entirely. Others command the power to reshape reality itself. You are about to stand before the collective wisdom and authority of the galaxy." "We understand," Jawan replied, though her mouth felt dry. "Do you? Your species has existed for mere moments in galactic time. You have achieved faster-than-light travel only recently. You have encountered fewer than a dozen alien civilizations. The beings you are about to meet have seen the rise and fall of 10,000 empires." Dr. Minji Lee stepped forward slightly. "With respect, Facilitator, we didn't come here to be intimidated. We came because we were invited." Nexital S form, pulsed with what might have been amusement. Invited? Yes, that is one way to describe it. The massive doors began to open, revealing a chamber beyond that seemed to stretch into infinity. Floating platforms held representatives from hundreds of different species, arranged in a complex pattern that hurt to look at. At the center of the chamber stood a single podium, clearly meant for whoever was being judged. The noise hit them first, a cacophony of alien languages, telepathic communications, and energy patterns that registered as sound. Then came the feeling of being watched by hundreds of intelligences, each one ancient and powerful beyond human comprehension. "The High Arbiter will see you now," Nexital announced. Jiwan took a deep breath and stepped into the chamber, knowing that the next few hours would determine whether humanity had a future among the stars, or whether their species would join the long list of civilizations that had challenged the Council and lost. The council chamber fell silent as Captain Jiwan Park walked toward the central podium. Every alien being in the vast space turned their attention to her, creating a pressure that felt like standing at the bottom of an ocean. Dr. Minji Lee followed close behind, her scientific mind trying to catalog the incredible diversity of life forms surrounding them. High Arbiter Velanash dominated the center of the chamber, a being of pure energy that hurt to look at directly. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, carrying the weight of millennia. "Captain Park of the human species," the voice boomed, "you stand before the Galactic Council to answer for your people's actions. Do you understand the gravity of this moment?" Jiwan straightened her shoulders. "I understand that we've been summoned to explain our civilization's growth and expansion." A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through the assembled beings. Near the High Arbiter, a massive insectoid creature with multiple heads spoke in a clicking language that the translators converted to harsh words. "Growth, expansion, such pleasant terms for what we have observed," the creature said. "I am War Prime, Kelthos of the Korthic Empire. Your species has violated 17 galactic expansion protocols in the past century alone." Dr. Minji Lee stepped forward slightly. "With respect, War Prime, we were never informed of these protocols. Humanity has had no official contact with the Council until now." "Ignorance is not an excuse," replied another voice. This one came from a collective of beings that seemed to share a single consciousness. "We are the Zephyrian Collective. We have monitored your species since you achieved faster-than-light travel. Your behavior patterns show clear signs of aggressive expansion." High Arbiter Velanash raised what might have been a hand, and the chamber fell quiet again. "The charges against humanity are serious. Let us review them systematically." A holographic display appeared above the podium, showing the galaxy with human colonies marked in red. The dots spread outward from Earth like drops of blood on a white cloth. 147 worlds colonized in 200 years, Velanash stated. "The accepted rate of expansion for a developing species is 10 worlds per millennium. Humanity has exceeded this by a factor of 73. Jiwan looked at the display, seeing her species' achievements portrayed as crimes. "Those worlds were uninhabited. We harmed no one by settling them. That is not the point, War Prime Kelthos clicked angrily. Rapid expansion indicates aggressive tendencies. It disrupts the balance we have maintained for 50,000 years. The holographic display changed to show human military vessels near various star systems. Jiwan recognized some of them exploration ships conducting scientific surveys. Your military forces have been detected in 23 forbidden sectors, the Zephyrian Collective announced. Sectors declared off limits by Council Decree thousands of years before your species evolved. We were conducting scientific research, Dr. Minji Lee protested. Standard stellar cartography and xenobiology surveys. To us it appeared as military reconnaissance, replied another alien voice. This one came from a being that looked like living crystal. I am Resonance Keeper Geltar of the Eternal Harmony. Your ships carry weapons. Your crews are trained for combat. How are we to distinguish between exploration and preparation for war? Jiwan felt frustration building in her chest. Because we've never attacked anyone. In 300 years of space travel, humanity has never fired a shot in anger at another sentient species. Yet, War Prime Kelthos said ominously, the display changed again, this time showing technical specifications that made Dr. Minji Lee gasp in recognition. Human technology blueprints, ship designs, and scientific research filled the air above them. Most concerning of all, High Arbiter Velanash continued, is your species' development of what you call quantum manipulation technology, reality-altering, capabilities that other species require millions of years to achieve. It's just applied physics, Dr. Minji Lee said desperately. Quantum mechanics, electromagnetic manipulation, nothing more advanced than what you surely possess. That is precisely the problem, the Zephyrian Collective replied. Your species achieves in centuries what takes others millennia. This rate of advancement is unprecedented and dangerous. Resonance Keeper Geltar's crystalline form pulsed with different colors as it spoke. We have seen this pattern before. Young species that advance too quickly, expand too rapidly, develop too much power too soon. They inevitably become threats to galactic stability. The chamber filled with agreement from hundreds of alien voices, creating a symphony of condemnation that echoed off the crystal walls. Yuan realized that this wasn't really a trial. It was a predetermined conclusion wrapped in legal ceremony. High Arbiter Velanash raised its energy form again, and silence returned. The Council has deliberated on humanity's fate. We offer your species a choice. The holographic display now showed two different images. On one side, Earth surrounded by a small number of ships and settlements. On the other, empty space where human colonies used to be. Choice 1. Complete submission to Council authority. Humanity will surrender all colonies beyond the Sol system. Your expansion will be limited to your home system permanently. Your military will be disbanded and replaced with Council peacekeepers. Most importantly, your species will undergo genetic modification to reduce aggressive tendencies and slow your rate of technological development. Dr. Minji Lee grabbed Jiwan's arm, her face pale with shock. They want to change us, she whispered. Make us into something different. Choice 2, Velanash continued, is the path of defiance. Refuse our generous offer and face the consequences. Your species will be classified as a galactic threat. All Council members will be authorized to take defensive action against human presence in their territories. War Prime Kelthos clicked with satisfaction. 6 species have chosen defiance in the past 10,000 years. None exist today. The weight of those words settled over Jiwan like a physical force. The choice being offered wasn't really a choice at all: submit completely or face extinction. She thought of Earth, of the billions of humans who had no idea their fate was being decided in this alien chamber. She thought of the colonies of families who had left everything behind to build new lives among the stars. You have 72 standard hours to provide your answer, High Arbiter Velanash announced. Use this time wisely. The Council's patience has limits. What if we refuse both choices? Duwan asked suddenly. What if humanity chooses a third option? The chamber erupted in alien sounds that the translators couldn't properly convert. Clicks, energy discharges that might have been laughter or outrage. There is no third option, the Zephyrian collective replied. Submit or be destroyed. These are the only paths available to your species. 72 hours, Velanash repeated. Guard Captain Nexital will escort you back to your vessel. Consider carefully, Captain Park. The survival of your entire species rests on the decision you make. As they were led from the chamber, Jiwan could feel hundreds of alien minds focused on her, waiting to see if humanity would kneel or choose destruction. Behind her, the assembled representatives of the galaxy's greatest civilizations continued their discussion, confident that they had presented an ultimatum no species could refuse. But as she walked through the crystal corridors back to the Defiance, Captain Jiwan Park was already beginning to think of a response that would surprise them all. The door to Captain Jiwan Park's quarters slid shut behind her with a soft hiss. For the first time in hours, she was alone with her thoughts. The weight of the entire human species rested on her shoulders, and she could feel it pressing down. Like a physical force, she walked to the small window that looked out at Nexus Prime. The alien station pulsed with energy patterns that reminded her of a heartbeat. Slow, steady, ancient. Around it, thousands of ships moved in perfect formation, a display of power meant to remind humanity of its place in the galactic order. Soft chime announced someone at her door. Come in, she called. Dr. Minji Lee entered, carrying a tablet, and wearing the exhausted expression of someone who had been working without sleep. Behind her came Commander Timan Choi and Senior Diplomat Sun Ho Kang, who had joined them via emergency hyperspace jump just hours after the council session. I've been analyzing the historical records the council provided, Minji said without greeting. She set her tablet on the small table and activated a holographic display. What I found is disturbing. The display showed a timeline stretching back thousands of years. Species names appeared and disappeared like flickering lights, each one representing an entire civilization. Every species that faced this same ultimatum has a recorded outcome, Minji continued. The Cathari chose submission 5,000 years ago, the Vexilon chose defiance and were wiped out 3,000 years later. The Mordans submitted and the Ziltek were destroyed. What happened to the ones who submitted? Sun Ho asked, his diplomatic training evident in his careful tone. Minji highlighted several species on the timeline. That's the most disturbing part. Look at this pattern. The Cathari submitted and were given a small territory to inhabit. Within 500 years, their population had declined by 90%. The Vorthak chose submission and lasted 800 years before going completely extinct. Timan leaned forward, studying the data with a soldier's eye for patterns. They all die anyway. Every single one, Minji confirmed. Submission leads to stagnation, which leads to decline, which leads to extinction. The Council isn't offering us a choice between survival and death. They're offering us a choice between slow death and quick death. Jiwan stared at the timeline, watching civilizations rise and fall like waves on a beach. How many species have faced this ultimatum? 23. In the past 10,000 years, not one survived? The room fell silent except for the hum of the ship's life support systems. Outside, the alien fleet continued its endless patrol, waiting for humanity's answer. There has to be something we're missing, Sun Ho said. Some precedent, some loophole? In galactic law, I've searched everything, Minji replied. The Council's authority is absolute. They've been the galactic government for 50,000 years. No one challenges them because no one can challenge them. Timan activated his own display, showing tactical analyses of the alien fleet surrounding them. Even if we wanted to fight, the numbers are impossible. They have 40,000 ships here, and this is just a fraction of their total force. Earth's entire fleet wouldn't last 5 minutes against what we can see right now. Jiwan walked to her personal storage locker and pulled out a small frame. Inside was an old photograph from Earth, her grandmother standing in front of a destroyed building during the reconstruction after The Korean War, the old woman's face, showed the stubborn determination that had helped her survive when everything seemed hopeless. My grandmother used to tell me stories, Jawan said quietly, about the war, about times when surrender seemed like the only option. She said the hardest part wasn't deciding whether to give up. The hardest part was remembering why you were fighting in the first place. She turned to face her colleagues. What makes humanity different from all these other species? Why are we advancing so fast, expanding so quickly? Our competitive nature? Tiemann suggested. Our curiosity? Minji offered. Our refusal to accept limitations, Sunho said thoughtfully. Jawan nodded. All of those, but there's something else. Something the council doesn't understand about us. She activated the room's main display and brought up images from human history. War-torn cities rebuilding themselves. Explorers crossing impossible oceans. Scientists working in primitive laboratories to unlock the secrets of the universe. We've faced extinction before. Ice ages that should have killed us. Plagues that wiped out half our population. Wars that turned our homeworld into a wasteland. And every single time, we didn't just survive, we came back stronger. But this is different, Sunho protested. This is the entire galaxy united against. Is it? Iwan asked. Or is it an ancient system trying to preserve itself by crushing anything new? Dr. Minji Lee suddenly looked up from her tablet, her eyes wide with realization. Captain, I think I found something. In the deep historical files, there are references to species that simply disappeared from council records, meaning they were destroyed? No, that's just it. When species are destroyed, there are detailed records of the military actions taken against them. But these others just stop appearing in council databases, as if they never existed. Tiemann leaned over to look at her screen. How many? At least a dozen that I can identify. Maybe more. Species that were mentioned in early records but then vanished without explanation. Where did they go? I don't know. But what if what if some species found a third option? What if they chose neither submission nor destruction, but something else entirely? Gyuan felt something stirring in her chest, not hope exactly, but the beginning of an idea. Show me the most recent case. Minji scrolled through her data. The Culinary. They were summoned before the council about 800 years ago. Same charges as us, rapid expansion, technological advancement, potential threat to stability. But then, she gestured at the screen. Nothing, they just disappear. From all records. Could they have been wiped out and the records lost? Possible, but unlikely. The council keeps detailed records of everything, even their victories. Sunho was studying the data with growing excitement. What if they refused both choices? What? If they said no to submission and no to destruction, and then simply left for where? Tiemann asked. Jiwan walked back to the window, looking out at the galaxy beyond the alien station. Billions of stars stretched to infinity, most of them unexplored even by the ancient council. The galaxy is huge, she said slowly. The council controls maybe 10% of it. What about the rest? What about the regions they've declared forbidden, the sectors they claim are too dangerous to explore? You think other species have gone into exile? Minji asked. I think maybe some species decided that freedom was worth more than safety. That growing and learning and becoming something new was worth the risk of facing the unknown. The idea was taking shape in her mind now, dangerous and impossible, and somehow perfectly human. We could run, she said quietly. Take every human ship, every colony, everyone who's willing to leave everything behind. Head for the galactic edge, for regions no one has mapped. Start over in places where the council has never been. That's insane, Sunho said. We'd be giving up everything we've built, would we? Jiwan asked. Or would we be saving the one thing that makes us human, our freedom to choose our own path? She looked around at her team, seeing her own desperate hope reflected in their faces. 72 hours, she said. We have 72 hours to figure out if running toward the unknown is better than dying on our knees. The council chamber felt different this time. The air hummed with expectation as thousands of alien beings waited for humanity's answer. Captain Jiwon Park walked toward the central podium with steady steps, her dress uniform crisp and her expression calm. Behind her, Dr. Minji Lee followed at the prescribed distance, her scientific mind still racing with possibilities. High Arbiter Velanash dominated the center of the chamber, its energy form pulsing with what might have been impatience. Around the representatives of 847 species watched in perfect silence. This moment had played out dozens of times before, always with the same result: submission or destruction. Captain Park of the human species, Velanash's voice filled the vast space. 72 hours have passed. The Council awaits your decision. Will humanity accept our guidance and survive, or choose the path of defiance and face the consequences? Jiwon reached the podium and looked up at the assembled representatives. She could feel their mental pressure, their absolute certainty that no species could stand against the combined might of the galaxy. War Prime Kelthos clicked its mandibles. In anticipation, the Zephyrian collective hummed with shared thoughts. Resonance Keeper Zeltara's crystalline form glowed with satisfaction. Before I give our answer, Jiwon said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics, I want to understand something. In 50,000 years of council rule, has any species ever prospered after choosing submission? A ripple of surprise passed through the assembled beings. This was not how these proceedings usually went. Prosperity is not the goal, War Prime Kelthos replied. Stability is the goal. Order is the goal. Peace is the goal. But the species that submit, do they grow? Do they explore? Do they discover new things, create new art, push the boundaries of what's possible? Such activities are unnecessary. The Zephyrian collective responded. We have achieved all that needs to be achieved. We have explored all that needs to be explored. The galaxy is complete. Dr. Minji Lee stepped forward slightly. What about the species that disappeared from your records? The ones that weren't destroyed, but simply vanished? The chamber fell silent. For a moment, the mental pressure from thousands of alien minds seemed to waver. There are no such species, High Arbiter Velanash said, but its energy form flickered. Uncertainly, the Kellanary, Minji continued. The Threnduk, the Zephany Prime, 14 different civilizations that face the same choice we face now, but then disappeared from all council records without any mention of military action against them. War Prime Kelthos leaned forward aggressively. Those species chose extinction through their own foolishness. They fled to the outer darkness and died in the void. Did they? Jiwon asked. Or did they choose something you can't understand? Freedom over safety? Growth over stagnation? The unknown over the controlled? The chamber erupted in alien voices, clicks, hums, energy discharges that spoke of confusion and growing anger. High Arbiter Velanash raised its form to restore order. Enough philosophy, it declared. You have wasted time with pointless speculation. Give us your answer. Submit to council authority or face destruction. These are your only choices. Jiwon looked around the chamber one more time. She thought of Earth, blue and green and beautiful in the void. She thought of the colonies of families who had risked everything to build new lives among the stars. She thought of her grandmother, standing in the ruins of Seoul with determination in her eyes. She thought of every human who had ever been told to kneel and chose to stand instead. High Arbiter, she said clearly, you asked for humanity's answer to your ultimatum. You want to know if we will submit to your authority or face your wrath. The chamber held its breath. Even the energy patterns around Nexus Prime seemed to pulse in anticipation. Our answer is simple, Jiwon continued. She looked directly at Velanash's shifting form, her voice carrying the weight of 300 years of human expansion, of centuries of refusing to accept limitations. The single Korean word hung in the air like a declaration of war. The translation systems throughout the chamber processed it instantly, broadcasting humanity's response in 1,000 different languages and communication methods. No. The silence that followed was absolute. For 50,000 years, every species, brought before the council had chosen one of the two options presented to them. None had ever simply refused to play by the council's rules. War Prime Kelthos was the first to break the silence. You choose destruction, then? So be it. No, Jawan said firmly. We don't choose destruction either. We reject both of your options. Impossible. The Zephyrian collective hummed in unison. You must choose, submit or be destroyed. There are no other paths. There's always another path, Dr. Minji Lee said, stepping up beside her captain. You've just forgotten how to see it because you've been following the same rules for so long. High Arbiter Velanash's energy form pulsed with something that might have been rage. You cannot simply refuse our authority. We are the Galactic Council. We have maintained order for millennia. Your order, Jawan replied. Your rules. Your version of what the galaxy should be. But the galaxy is bigger than your council. There are regions you've never explored, worlds you've never seen, possibilities you've never imagined. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity chooses a third option. We choose to leave. We'll take our ships, our people, and our stubborn refusal to accept limitations, and we'll go somewhere you can't follow. The galaxy has room for both your old ways and our new ones. The chamber exploded into chaos. Alien voices shouted in languages the translators couldn't process. Energy beings flared with light. The Korthic delegation clicked their mandibles in fury. Through it all, High Arbiter Velanash remained still, its form flickering as it processed this unprecedented situation. If you leave council space, it said finally, you forfeit all protection. You will face the dangers of the outer galaxy alone. Ancient evils sleep in the dark between stars. Creatures that even we fear roam the galactic edge. We know, Jiwan said. We've always known that growth requires risk. You will die out there. Maybe we'll find something wonderful. Maybe we'll discover that the galaxy is full of species like us, ones that chose freedom over safety, growth over stagnation. She smiled, and for the first time since arriving at Nexus Prime, she felt truly confident. Maybe we'll prove that there's more than one way to live among the stars. War Prime Kelthos stood from his platform. The Council cannot allow this precedent. If you refuse our authority, others might follow your example. Then you'll have to decide what's more important, Dr. Minji Lee said. Your control or your principles? If you truly believe your way is better, let us go and prove it by example. If you have to use force to maintain your system, maybe it isn't as perfect as you think. High Arbiter Velanash was silent for a long moment. Around the chamber, hundreds of species waited for its decision. Some looked eager for war. Others seemed thoughtful, perhaps remembering their own species' youth and the dreams they had surrendered for safety. Go then, Velanash said finally. Take your ships and your people and disappear into the void. But know this, if humanity ever returns to Council space, if you ever threaten the order we have built, we will show you no mercy. Understood, Jiwan replied. But I think you'll find that when species choose their own path, they rarely want to go back to following someone else's. As they left the chamber, escorted by the same beings who had brought them, Captain Jiwan Park could hear the debate beginning behind them. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Galactic Council was facing a choice they had never had to make, whether to let a species walk away free, or reveal the iron fist beneath their velvet glove. 6 months later, the human exodus was complete. Every colony, every ship, every person who chose freedom over safety had gathered at the edge of Council space. Captain Park, now Admiral Park, stood on the bridge of the UES New Dawn as it led a fleet of 10,000 ships toward the unknown regions of the galaxy. Behind them, reports filtered in of other species making similar choices. The Draxi had declared independence. 3 younger civilizations had refused Council oversight. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy was changing. Ahead lay darkness, danger, and infinite possibility. All ships report ready, Admiral, Commander Teeman Choi announced. Then let's go find out what's waiting in the dark, Jiwan replied. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. carrying humanity toward an uncertain but chosen future, leaving behind a galaxy that would never be quite the same again.